Hello, Houston. Many blessings to you on this January the 8th, 2024. Today is the Feast of the Baptism of the Lord. My name is Wyatt Goolsby. I'm the Executive Director of KSHJ. That's this radio station, the Guadalupe Radio Network station here in Houston. And you are listening to Catholic Lunch Break. This is the program where we catch up on all things Catholic in the greater Houston area. As I mentioned, my name is Wyatt Goolsby. Today on our program, of course, we're joined by our regulars like Carol Herrera, our super volunteer, and my colleague Tim Mott. But just a little housekeeping to start off the program. You're probably not used to hearing my voice at the top of this show, and that's because you're used to hearing Tim Mott's. He now has a new role of Senior Production Manager. So Tim is still with us, by the way. He's right here running the board. Say hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim. Yep, glad to be here. Glad to be here. I love this. This side of the glass is my favorite.
Exactly. No, Tim absolutely loves producing and helping us out in so many capacities. Right now, he's helping run the board. So we're really appreciative of Tim, and he's helping me sort of take over the hosting duties here for Catholic Lunch Break. So it's an exciting time, some time of changes. But as with anything here with the Guadalupe Radio Network, we want to begin our program with prayer. Prayer is the most important thing. So if you'd pray with me here, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my Mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Happy New Year to you as well, Carol.
Thank you very much. And, new year, new roles, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Well, I was really appreciative of your help this past weekend because you, Tim, and I were at St. Joseph's Catholic Church, which is located on Kane Street, I believe. And we had a very good response because we were actually selling raffle tickets.
Yes, it was exciting. I got to see a lot of the old parishioners that I've known. I'm actually a parishioner there at the church, at that parish. So it's exciting to be there and to see a lot of new faces and old faces, too.
That's right. The masses were very busy. Tim and I were there at the vigil, and then, of course, Carol, all three of us were there for the morning masses and the Spanish mariachi band mass at 12:30. Very lively. So it was a great crowd, and Father Victor Perez, who is the pastor at St. Joseph's, is so kind and so welcoming to us.
Always that way. And I want to also thank everyone who did purchase tickets yesterday. Thank you so much. That was so kind of you to, again, support the Catholic radio station here at Guadalupe Radio Network. And again, Wyatt, buying those tickets, should somebody win one of those tickets, they will win a brand new Mercedes-Benz.
That's right. It's a Mercedes-Benz. It's a SUV, so it's a Mercedes-Benz, I think, GLB 250, if I'm thinking correctly. And so it's a really nice luxury vehicle.
Super car, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice one to drive around in, to go to Mass in.
So you could tell people were excited when we had the little tabletopper we were showing people, and they're like, oh, wow, it is a nice vehicle that we're able to raffle off.
Make it a little more enticing.
Yes, exactly. So as you mentioned, Carol, we're kind of bouncing around different churches, and we're doing that through the 19th, February 19th. So if you're interested in buying a raffle ticket and supporting our media ministry, you can do so by going on our website. It's grnonline.com/raffle. And you have a choice. You can buy one ticket for $25 or 5 for $100. And one of the things that we've been promoting, that we've been talking about, is called Pay It Forward, where you actually can buy a ticket for someone else. So if you're thinking about somebody,
great gift.
Absolutely. So if you're thinking about maybe somebody who who might be in need of a car, hey, feel free to get online and purchase tickets. Again, it's grnonline.com/raffle. So again, we'll be doing that in person in a number of different churches throughout. Well, now until the 19th.
Yes, we're coming to a parish near you pretty soon.
There you go. So it's a very exciting time. So as if that weren't enough for us this past weekend, keeping us busy over at St. Joseph's, Tim, you also went to a beautiful concert full of sacred music on Saturday night, I believe. You and your wife did. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, it wasn't just the concert itself that's special. It was the location of it. And I actually mentioned this about 2 or 3 weeks ago on the show, back when I was still the host. I mentioned that there was a cistern underneath Buffalo Bayou Park. And I heard that there were tours of it, and being a sound guy, I like to find interesting acoustics and everything. And I'm like, ooh, that's got to be, they were really, really interesting. And then I looked and saw that there was a concert series during the Christmas season. And then I looked and saw that the choir that was doing the concert series was led by Krista Miller, the music director at the Cathedral. And I'm like, I know Krista. That's amazing. And the Schola Cantorum, they're going to be great. And being in that space, I'm like, I have to hear this. So I tried to get tickets, and I finally got some for the very last day of the series. So January 6th, Epiphany, we were there at the church, and it was basically really close to St. Joseph, so that worked out really well. But if you don't mind, I've got a little sample of what it sounded like, because you're underground in this cavern with all these columns in there. They had them lit up for with Christmas colors and everything. I wish I could show you the colors, because it was absolutely gorgeous in the dark there with the Christmas lights. And the choir was standing on one side. It's huge underground facility. And the echo is just incredible. So they're singing these very pure Gregorian chant style songs, and it mixes all up. So I'll just play a little bit of that for you. And I just whipped out my phone, and I was just like, I got to capture some of this on my phone.
That's incredible.
I was really, really impressed with it. And so I don't know if they're going to do something like this before next Christmas, but I highly recommend going and experiencing the Buffalo Bayou Cistern, and especially if you can hear it with sacred music from the Cathedral of the Sacred Heart. Now, that would be just special.
That's incredible.
That was beautiful, Tim. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you, Tim. I'm glad you and your wife, Rachel, were able to make it to that. And Carol, you had mentioned the term beautiful to describe that music. Stay tuned here to Catholic Lunch Break, because we're going to be talking more about beauty when it comes to Christian values a little bit later on. So I thought that was an appropriate word.
Great.
In the meantime, we also like to promote Catholic education here. So at this time, we want to check in with Corey Smith, who has a sports report for us for today.
Hello, Houston. It's Corey the Sports Guy here, rolling out your Catholic high school sports report for the Houston area. And starting with boys basketball, the strict Jesuit Fighting Crusaders barely lost to the Dawson Eagles, the O'Connell Buccaneers demolished the Baytown Christian Bulldogs, and the St. John Mavericks won against the Kelly Catholic Bulldogs. And now, girls basketball. The Duchesne Chargers were destroyed by the Aggieland Homeschool Panthers. The St. Agnes Tigers won a close one against the Bel Air Cardinals. The Incarnate World Falcons lost big time to the Antonian Prep Apaches, and the Frassati Falcons lost to the Lutheran South Pioneers. That's a wrap for this week's Catholic High School Sports Report for the week of January 5th. Keep your radio tuned to AM 1430 for next week's recap of Houston's Catholic sports. Back to you, Wyatt.
Corey Smith reporting. Corey, thank you so much for that sports report. We really appreciate it, and we'll continue to support Catholic education here. Stay tuned again here on Catholic Lunch Break, because we got another segment, speaking of Catholic education, coming up. In the meantime, though, we are also a pro-life network, of course, and so we like to check in regularly with Loving Choice. That is the pro-life pregnancy center here in the greater Houston area, the only one, I should say, that's specifically Catholic pro-life pregnancy center. So we're joining now with Marie Ann Suarez. She is the Loving Choice board president. So Marie Ann is joining us now over the phone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon, Wyatt.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, by the way. We really appreciate it. And we're always happy to check in with Loving Choice and hear about some of the work that you're doing there. First off, Marie Ann, you have been with Loving Choice since its inception, since the beginning. I think it was in 2019. Tell me a little about what brought you on board with Loving Choice and what appealed to you about it.
Well, what brought me on board was the Holy Spirit, and Jackie Vale offering a chance to come on board and
Sure. No, I understand. I get it. And in the meantime, you sort of came in sort of as wearing different hats. You've done a number of different things. I'd mentioned the fact that you're the board president right now of Loving Choice, but you also work directly with clients. These are women who might be in a dangerous, a scary situation, and they're looking for help. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct. And to go back to your point of what drew me to being with Loving Choice was a chance to help these women in crisis pregnancy, a chance to help babies to be born, to make sure that there is a place out there that is a source of truth and a source of true hope and true help for women, not half-truths and lies that seem to permeate our society. And I wanted a chance to stand up for life in a concrete way and to work with these women. I used to work or volunteer as an advocate and speak with women one-on-one and hear their story, really listening to what's going on in their life, because the pregnancy is not the only issue going on in their life. There's usually other things going on in their life. So we need to find out what that is so that we can figure out how to best help them and point them in the right direction or help them to problem solve.
Sure. And like I said, that's so important when people go into Loving Choice. A client, for example, that you guys really sit down and talk with them about everything that's going on with their lives and in a confidential way. Marie Ann, is it rewarding to do that kind of work, to help women like that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And when you see women come into the center, and some of them are just almost in tears and just really worked up, and we can sit down and talk with them and talk through what is going on in their life and just kind of slow them down, and you can see kind of hope starting to emerge, and they can start seeing that there is light, that there is hope, that there is joy in what is happening. It's really quite awesome to see.
You had mentioned before that, you yourself, that pro-life message is so important to you. Why do you think being pro-life and promoting pro-life values is so important?
Well, God created life, right? God is the creator, and death is never the answer, and we need to stand up for the truth. We need to stand up for life. Life is beautiful, and we need to let people know that. And I think the way we let people know that is to be the hands and feet of Jesus.
Amen.
And this is one way to do that.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're talking in that compassionate manner and you embrace them when they come in through the door, to let them know that they're not alone. And that's what I think a lot of people, when they walk in and they're going through a crisis, that they're the only ones going through the situation. Mm-hmm. There's nowhere to turn. There's no one to talk to about their particular situation. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, that is absolutely correct. And another thing that we like to try and do is try to show them a new vision of themselves. Some of them
You're right.
have a very negative,
dim view
sort of view because they see themselves in a problem. But if we can show them the positive side of what we see in them, of that they're a loved child of God.
Yes, that there is hope.
I think that helps.
Absolutely.
Very good. Well, Marie Ann, if people want to learn more about Loving Choice, or if there's somebody who's listening that's in a tough spot, where can they go to find out more information?
Absolutely. They can go to our website, loving-choice.org.
Okay, very good. And the office is located in Spring?
Yes, we are located in Spring, Texas, off of Kirkendall, and we are about 0.7 miles from a Planned Parenthood, which I think is also very important.
Oh, wow. So good reminder to continue to pray for Loving Choice and of course, for everyone who's pro-life out there and supporting the pro-life message. Well, that's fantastic. It's a lot of good information there. Mary Ann Suarez, the board president for Loving Choice, thank you so much for talking with us today and checking in.
Thank you for letting me be on.
And Mary Ann, thank you for all that you do and all the time that you put in, because I'm sure it's a big mission for you, and I'm sure that it's very gratifying for you as well.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And y'all have a wonderful afternoon.
Okay, you as well. Thank you so much. Again, that's loving-choice.org. We appreciate that. Well, it is a busy year, I should say, for the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston, and the Office of Aging is actually marking an anniversary, a milestone as well. So to talk a little bit more about that, we're welcoming here in the studio Mark Ciesielski. He is with the Office of Aging. Mark, thank you so much for being in here at the radio station with us.
Thanks, Wyatt, for inviting me.
Sure. So tell me, you are here because you're going to be talking about a conference that's coming up with the Office of Aging. But first, for people who are unfamiliar with the Archdiocese department here, the Office of Aging, what is it and what is the purpose?
Well, Wyatt, 50 years ago, 1974, these two sisters, Sister Dorothy Parton and Sister Teresita Parton and Sister Dorothy Sachnitz, started this office with the vision of taking some of the best practices on aging in the country and adapting them into some pastoral practices, both to help our parish leaders as well as our older adults.
And so to that end, like I said, you guys put on a number of different programs and help people, both families as well as those who are aging elderly.
Yeah, so our office is, education and formation. So we focus both on helping parish leaders know how to invite and the gifts of older adults into their parish community, how to integrate those, as well as how to support them when families come to them with aging issues. And then we have also a lot of services to our older adults, days of prayers, things like that, seminars, regional seminars, to address some of those issues.
Absolutely. So there's so much. So let's talk then about this conference that's coming up here at the end of January. You are the conference coordinator, so you're helping organize this. Tell me first off, what's the name of this conference, and where do you all get the mission or the idea for this one?
Yes, the title of the conference is called "Nurturing the Roots of Our Communal Tree," and that was taken from 2022. Pope Francis, from February to August that year, had weekly his audiences on the topic of how the church can engage and address the issues of older adults. And he has this image that the church is a tree, the older adults are the roots, and insofar as we help and support a healthy root system, the church, the young church, the rest of the church will bear a good fruit. So in that light, it's a conference to both honor and support aging.
And so, again, tell me the dates for them. I think it's a Friday and a Saturday.
Yeah, so we have two dates, Friday, January 26th, and Saturday, January 27th. So they're just half days from 8:30 to 12:30, with Friday a day for our parish leaders. And then Saturday for all older adults and their family members. And again, the two key pieces that will be addressed are presentations, and we have 30-plus vendors coming out to how to help our older adults become, they're using their gifts and talents to be more intentional as part of the church, as well as how to support them as their health diminishes, so how to support the leaders for families, and then directly on Saturday, how to help older adults with those type of resources.
No, well, that really sounds wonderful for people who might be taking care of an older adult or the elderly and trying to figure out the best way to do things, even if they don't have background or experience, trying to find answers.
Absolutely. I mean, our population with the baby boomer generation is aging. By 2030, it'll be about 65 and older. It'll be about 20% of the population, and caregiving. Not knowing how to care for older adults, whether it's your spouse or your parents or a loved one in your community, is really a key issue. And we have a lot of resources, both in terms of speakers and vendors, to address that one of those issues.
One of those speakers is going to be the Cardinal himself, Daniel Cardinal DiNardo. So it's always good to have the backing of the Cardinal for this, right?
Yeah, we were able to. Cardinal DiNardo will be out on Friday only,
okay,
but he will be having some opening remarks to launch the conference. And then we have a couple of keynotes. I want to mention this conference has two tracks. So it's in English and in Spanish. So
so it's for both.
It's for both groups.
Excellent. So again, the dates on that's Friday, January 26th, as well as Saturday, January 27th. I should mention that you mentioned there's going to be like 30 vendors. Guadalupe Radio Network is also going to be there, so we appreciate y'all allowing us to come out. So we're happy to support y'all's work with the Office of Aging as well, because it is so important.
Right, and I meant the location will be Prince of Peace Catholic Church. It's in Northwest Houston, and it's for anybody, and it's a Catholic conference, so there will be focuses on Catholic teachings and Catholic spirituality, as well as a lot of practical and pastoral resources available that day.
Excellent. So if people want to learn more, Mark, where can they go?
So if this is a free conference, so if you're interested in attending, you can either register on our website at www.archgh.org/aging, or you can call this number. If you need some help with registration or more information, call 713-741-8712, and someone will help you with information or to help you register.
Excellent. So again, that conference is called Nurturing the Roots of Our Communal Tree. Mark Ciesielski is with the Office of Aging and is the conference coordinator. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your telling us all about the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you, Wyatt, and I hope you all can come out and join us for our conference. Thank you.
We are looking forward to it and being able to talk with people from all over the greater Houston area. If you're just now joining us, you are listening to the Catholic Lunch Break. Coming up after this break, we'll check in with Houston's newest Catholic high school, Cathedral High School, and I'll be talking with Mr. Zachary Allen, the school's president. Stay with us here.
Southeast Houston Cardiology is a proud sponsor of this Guadalupe Radio Network station and The Doctor is In with Dr. Ray Garendi. Southeast Houston Cardiology has been serving patients with heart disease and vascular disease with up-to-date, compassionate, and comprehensive care for more than 20 years. Southeast Houston Cardiology has 2 locations, Webster and Pasadena. You can contact them online at southeasthoustoncardiology.com or 281-338-4004.
Hello, it's Melissa Bishop, and I wanted to thank you so much for your prayers for the Homeschool Moms Retreat this past August. I also want to request prayers for the upcoming retreat, especially for the speakers and all the participants. It will be held on January 13th. If you're a homeschool mom, details can be found at chechtx.org, checktexas.org. That's chechtx.org.
Join us for a couples retreat at the Co-Cathedral on Saturday, January 20th, 2024 from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and get inspired. Dr. David Anders will share with us how the Catholic Church saved his marriage and how to live out the call to be a domestic church. This retreat is for couples who are preparing for marriage or are married. Father Peter Wood will speak on forgiveness, and couples will share their experience of keeping Christ at the center of their marriage. Go to www.stmichaelchurch.net to register.
You're invited to the Fiesta of the Black Nazarene, Saturday, January 13th at Holy Family Catholic Church. This traditional and devout Filipino celebration begins with a novena at 9:15 a.m., followed by a procession of the Black Nazarene statue and Mass at 11 a.m. Then, food and fellowship in the parish hall. Saturday, January 13th at Holy Family Parish. For more information or to learn the history of the Black Nazarene devotion, go to holyfamilychurch.us.
High School is the president, Mr. Zachary Allen. Mr. Allen, welcome into the studio. Thanks for being here on Catholic Lunch Break.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Cathedral High School is a relatively new high school. It's located in the Spring Branch area. Tell us when it was founded and why.
Yeah, so we are relatively new. This is our second year. We started last year, 22-23, and we actually started off in the chancery of the ordinariate of the Chair of St. Peter. As our school was being finished, the construction was being finished, and then we moved into our building in January of 23, so we're coming up just right at a year that we've been inside of our building. So we started off last year with just freshmen. This year we have freshmen and sophomores, and we'll grow next year freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and then the following year we'll have all 4 grade levels for the first time at the school. So the reason that the school was founded, originally Bishop Lopes had kind of felt in his prayer that there was a need for education. He had a kind of a feeling that he was maybe being called to do something in the realm of schools.
And so, this is Bishop Stephen Lopes of the Ordinariate.
Correct, yeah,
okay.
Bishop Stephen Lopes of the Ordinariate. And so what he did with that was he went back and he kind of instituted a team to pray, discern, and to think about if there was going to be a school, what kind of school, what grade levels. Would it be for elementary through middle school? Would it be high school? What type of education? Would it be more of the traditional style? Would it be classical? What are some of the things that would be different about this school than other schools? How would it be an ordinariate school? How would you define that? So over about 4-year period, people work together on many different teams and subcommittees to go through the curriculum, through the tuition, through even the architecture of the building. How do you make the building reflect what we're doing instead of just using a building? The building was actually designed to better play out the mission. And so really, so we were founded, the decision was to be a high school. So we're doing 9 through 12. The decision also was to do classical. So we're the only classical Catholic high school in the Houston area. There are other Catholic classical schools. You might be familiar with St. Teresa's in Sugar Land or St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. Those two are classical Catholic schools. They go through 8th grade. So what we did was we're going to be the 9 through 12. And some people don't know exactly what that means. And so I always want to just make a quick mention of what classical education is. We see the term all over the place, and there's a lot of different definitions. But I think the easiest thing for people to remember is the classical model is more about the pedagogy, the way things are done. A lot of the materials could be similar. In our case, we do have several unique courses that are different, such as our Catholic Culture course, which encompasses English and history and geography all in one course. And similar to a Great Books course where the students will read great works of literature throughout the times. And the course instructor, Dr. Plaza, he will walk them through kind of what was happening in the world at the time, what was happening in the church at the time, why was this work created in this particular period, why has it become a classic that has been read for hundreds or thousands of years. So the students are not only getting the materials, but they're getting the why. And so the classical model is really focused on the why, teaching students to learn how to learn even, instead of saying, here's a list of facts that we want to gather by the end of the course, and I want you to be able to regurgitate those on a test. The point is that they learn how to think scientifically, or they learn how to think mathematically, or they learn how to think, literarily, depending on the course that they're in.
It's also very important at Cathedral High School to have that spiritual development as well. You have offer Mass daily and also offer confessions actually daily as well. Yeah, so we part of the founding, right, was that daily Mass would be every day for our school. So all of our students and all of our faculty go to daily Mass at 8:05 in the morning. Parents and the community are invited, but it is a school Mass. So we celebrate Mass. We are blessed this year. We have a chaplain that was given to the school full time. Bishop Lopes kind of made that possible, which is a huge blessing in our second year, and especially with only freshmen and sophomores, for them to make that available for us. So Father Symington usually celebrates about 4 to 5 Masses a week, but then Bishop Lopes comes in once to twice a month for Mass, and then several of our other priests, including Father Huff, our pastor at the Cathedral, will come in intermittently and celebrate school Masses for us as well. I want to unpack some of the terms that you had used. You had mentioned the term ordinariate. Let's delve into that a little bit more, because one of the other differences compared to other Catholic high schools is that Cathedral High School is connected to an ordinariate parish. That's Our Lady of Walsingham. Tell me, what do we mean when we talk about ordinariate?
Yeah, so the ordinariate, so technically it's the personal ordinariate of the Chair of St. Peter is the name of the diocese. It's kind of a non-territorial diocese is the way that maybe people would understand it. And so our cathedral is in Houston, but the ordinariate actually encompasses all of the United States and Canada. And so Pope John Paul II and then Pope Benedict XVI began working with several Anglican bishops that were looking to join the Catholic Church, and maybe not even alone, but with their whole parish community as well. And so they came up with an opportunity for that. And so Anglicanorum Chedibus is a document that people could look into if they're really curious for the details. But in general, it was founded as a way for them to join the Catholic Church, to be united under Rome. But it really honors the traditions that they were currently living out within the Anglican Church, within those traditions that didn't contradict with the Catholic teachings. And so the rite of our Mass is a little bit different than what you would notice in an ordinary form Mass that you might see at many other parishes. For instance, our priests, they're ad orientem. They face the altar throughout Mass. It is all in English. Our verbiage is the Old English styling. So, so that's, But when I'm talking about ordinariate, as far as what our school is founded on 4 pillars, and those pillars come from the 4 pillars of the ordinariate, which is sacred worship, sacred wisdom, sacred music, and sacred art. And so, of course, within the life of the school, we live those out. So sacred worship, of course, we attend Mass daily. Sacred wisdom, all of our courses throughout the curriculum are really calling the students to a higher level of understanding. We center everything on Jesus, but we know that he wants us to learn not just theology, right? He wants us to know all about the world that he's put us in. So students will take math and science and English and history. Of course, I mentioned those are wrapped into Catholic culture. They'll take theology. They take multiple different courses that help them to broaden their minds. Sacred music and sacred art at our school are seen as core curricular subjects. And so, in many places, the fine arts are treated as an extracurricular, just like athletics potentially. But at our school, all of our students will take sacred music and sacred art for all 4 years of high school, which is a really huge blessing because they really get to challenge themselves and grow in an area where in a lot of places they're not able to really experience that or even think about it because there's not enough time in the day or there's not enough credits, or they're really kind of forced to choose in those extracurricular activities. And so why is that important? We think that the sacred music and sacred art, and I do want to clarify, it's sacred music and sacred art. So they sing sacred music and they create sacred art. It's not just a music class or an art class, right? So, for instance, in sacred music, they focus chorally on all of the songs, the hymns, the chants that we'll do in Mass. And so they, do those. Our students participate in Mass daily, different segment of students each day. And then in sacred art, they create the things that you'll see in church. So they work on
or I guess I think at one point that's seen them working on stained glass windows.
That's right.
In our
yeah.
class,
So,
for example.
So stained glass will be in the junior and senior years. They work on this year. We're doing ceramics. So they're creating multiple different things that all the things you see within the church, especially up by the altar. Those are the items that they'll focus on creating. So it's beautiful because the students get to create, and in a lot of places in our world, right, kids and adults even are really made to feel like you can't try things that you're not good at. Or if you try and you're not so good the first time, it's better not to try again. And so for a lot of students, if they do art or music in another school, it'll only be for a semester if it's not their passion, and then they kind of fade away. But our students are encouraged and will, participate for 4 years. So even if it's not my best gift, I'll spend time developing it for 4 years and hopefully find something that I really like in it. If not, I'll learn persistence and I'll learn that I can improve on something even if it's not my favorite. For students that love it, of course, that's a huge benefit. I mean, a number of our students do love music and art, and so that was a huge draw for them to come to our school. But even for others, just the opportunity to grow in something that's not their first passion is really good to see. Right? They kind of learn the comfortability of myself. I love that about the music and the art because, when I create something, if I don't show anyone, I can be confident. Right? I can create it and never show anyone, but to create it and let other people see it is very vulnerable. I had to let them see what I made. It may or may not be as good as someone else's. But what I'll learn through 4 years is I've created a lot of different things. I've sang a lot of different things, and all of that is vulnerable. And so when they get older, our hope is that through daily Mass, through the heart-to-heart with God, which is our motto, right, Cor ad cor loquitur from St. John Henry Newman, if the students really get comfortable with who they are in God's eyes, that when they leave our school, they're comfortable being themselves in any circumstance. Yeah.
It's so interesting that you're able to take, what we think of as normal high school subjects, literature, music, art, but then incorporate all of the Catholic culture, the church history and things into that. You had made reference to the school's patron saint, which is St. John Henry Newman. Tell me, who was Cardinal Newman and why the school chose him to be the patron saint?
Yeah, so St. John Cardinal Henry Newman is a very influential aspect of our school, right? His teachings, of course, we go to he's our patron saint. So in our students' recitatio, which is a prayer that they say in the mornings, which is really made up of their curricular items for each year, the freshman year, the sophomore year, junior year, and the senior year. And the teachers will come up with what are the core truths that they want them to take from that particular year. And so what they'll do is they'll find quotes from saints or quotes from the catechism or from Scripture to answer the questions like who is man, things like that. So we lean into St. John Cardinal Henry Newman's teachings there. We lean into his prayer about our mission. I was created for a particular mission. And so our students learn kind of to follow in those footsteps of really seeking God's path for them. He also was a convert to Catholicism. He was very high-ranking in his previous church, and when he decided to join the Catholic Church, he really gave up high positions and entered into a very modest Catholic church, right? And so it's beautiful to see that, and then for him to rise up to cardinal, it really just shows how God's work, kind of consistently throughout his life. But he's got so many beautiful writings and prayers. I would encourage people to look him up if they haven't. There's several small books that are very accessible for people to look up if they want to read about his life or read about kind of his journey into the church.
If you're just joining us, this is KSHJ Executive Director Wyatt Goolsby talking with the president of Cathedral High School, Mr. Zachary Allen. Mr. Allen, tell me why you decided you wanted to work at Cathedral High School. Was there certain values or things about it that you were drawn to?
Yeah, absolutely. So originally when I applied for the position, it was only because I had looked into it, researched about the school, looked at Bishop Lopes' writings about the school, and thought it seemed like the type of school that I would want my own kids to go to. So my kids are young. They're not near high school age yet. But I've been in different school settings before, public schools, Catholic schools. I've worked in ministry. And so when I saw this particular school and the mission, everything really is focused around bringing the faith into the center of what we're doing, which for me as a convert to Catholicism as well, is really important because our world is really good at segmenting things. So you can be Catholic but only mention that when it's appropriate, right? And I don't feel like that's conducive for our young people to grow up and live an authentically Catholic life because there's too many opportunities for them to shun their faith, even if they don't realize they're doing it, right? And so this school was built, we put daily mass at the core, something that is really only offered in 2 Catholic high schools in Texas, ourselves and then the Atonement Academy in San Antonio. And so to really center ourselves around the Eucharist, yes, we do have daily confessions now, which came about. I actually saw a video not too long ago in which Bishop Lopes was talking about the future Cathedral High School. This is from several years ago, and how he had projected that he desired daily confessions as well as daily mass. And so I went to our chaplain, Father Symington. I was like, hey, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but Bishop Lopes' hope for our school is eventually would have daily confessions because he was doing 2 days a week at this moment, which we only have freshmen and sophomores, so it was definitely enough. But he came back the next week and said, hey, I'm going to redo my schedule so that I can offer daily confessions since that was something that was in the plans. Wow. And so it's the humility really that I've seen while I've been there has been beautiful to see. But really what drew me in is the community, right, had banded together. They had not only fundraised for the actual building to be built for the opening class last year, but also the commitment of the priests to make daily mass available. I mean, at Walsingham they have our 8 a.m. mass on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They have a 10 o'clock mass for their Holy House Academy, which is a homeschool co-op. And then they have their daily community mass at 12. So to add 5 more daily masses for our school to exist was a large undertaking. And so the gratitude that they do that is phenomenal. But all those things drew me in because I thought, God has given me different skill sets to help out in schools and to work in schools. And I've seen that in public schools and in private schools and Catholic schools. And I'm happy about that. But I felt like he was really wanting me to be in a place that really made it evident and opens the opportunity when we interview families. Like, our job is to put your students in a position to better know Jesus, to better let them grow into who he designed them to be. Our curriculum will challenge them. I mean, it's a very strenuous curriculum. The classical model tends to a lot of reading, discussion, writing. We're not technology heavy. We're light on technology because we're really focusing on the mind. And so all those things really drew me in because I really want to participate in helping students become saints. We don't want them just to graduate and say they're Catholic. We want them to graduate, continue to attend Mass, continue to evangelize. What we're seeing now with freshmen and sophomores, and especially throughout the fall, is we've had 8th grade classes visit. There's a number of schools that we're able to partner with, middle schools, and bring them in and show them the campus and let the students experience a half day. And so what we see is when you establish a community where students are invited and allowed to seek their faith daily, it doesn't mean they'll be perfect. Right? I mean, they're 14, 15 years old.
Sure.
There's a lot of normal 14 and 15-year-old things that happen. But they're in a community that are all desiring virtue. And so when something happens, we're able to call them right back to, hey, I don't want you to do these things, or we don't want you to do these things because you're supposed to. It's because this is what God has laid out for us as the best for us, right? And looking in our past, in the church's past, and looking at our present, I think it's evident that the world needs saints right now to rise up. And we just want to create a community of students and families that are seeking that, right? That learn in their different disciplines, find out, ask God, what are you wanting from me? You want me to focus on literature? You want me to focus on science? We need doctors, we need lawyers, we need teachers, we need theologians, but we need all those people to be grounded in their faith so that wherever they go, they evangelize, right? Our mission is not just to create a lot of intelligent students that go off and get high-level degrees. I hope they do that. I mean, they will learn, they will challenge themselves, they will be capable of going and getting high-level degrees, but if they lose their faith or they don't take their faith with them when they're doing those things, we truly feel that we didn't do our job. Right?
Well, credit both to Cathedral High School as well as to Our Lady of Walsingham Parish there, the Ordinariate Parish in the Spring Branch area, for having such a welcoming community. And like you say, Mr. Allen, it's so important that we as a church welcome people, whether they be cradle Catholics or converts, to really delve into their Catholic faith. I want to ask you, for Cathedral High School, if there are tuition assistance or scholarship opportunities.
Yeah, so we do have, as a Catholic school, as a private school, we have tuition. That's how we pay our teachers. It's how we fund all of our expenses. So we do have tuition, but for families that are in need of tuition assistance, what we do offer is financial aid. So that's the first step would be to apply for financial aid, which we actually have applications open now, applications for the school and applications for financial aid. And our first round of consideration, although we consider everyone that puts in, but the first round would be January 16th is what we're looking at, to try to give us time to go through everything and be able to make admissions offers that first week of March.
So that's coming up soon, again, January 16th.
It is, yeah, it's coming up soon. There's still time, but, of course, reach out if you need extra time so we can work with you. That's one of the advantages of being small and growing. We want to work with every family individually. But after the financial aid, there's also some scholarship opportunities that we're developing. We've noticed that we have students that excel in different areas, sacred music, sacred art, for instance. So we're looking into creating scholarships for each of the pillars. And we're also interested in named scholarships potentially for different people that have supported the school, and finding out ways that we can offer to kind of honor their donations, honor their support by partnering with families that would live out what they donated for. So yeah, that's a great question. I know that based on our model, we're going to attract a lot of families that are desiring to live out the Catholic faith. And so, if you're a Catholic family and you have 2 parents and 5 or 6 kids, tuition can be quite a bit. So we never want anyone to not apply because they're afraid of the tuition cost, because we can't offer aid, we can't offer scholarships, we can't partner with you until you've applied. And so,
Sure.
We ask people not to assume the tuition is going to be a barrier, but to please apply, please reach out, please talk to us, give us the opportunity to work with you, because we can't build the community and the culture if we don't have the students and the families that want this to happen.
Well, we ask our listeners here with the Guadalupe Radio Network to continue to pray for Cathedral High School, especially those students, like you say, who are developing and learning more about their faith and really trying to delve into the Catholic culture in each of those classes. It was a pleasure in 2023 when you had invited me to take a tour of the school. Again, we hope more folks in the greater Houston area will take the time to learn more about Cathedral High School as it continues to grow. Again, what's the website for people who want to learn more?
Yes, our website is cathedralhouston.org.
Mr. Zachary Allen, the president of Cathedral High School, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
You are listening to the Catholic Lunch Break here on the Guadalupe Radio Network, and we are blessed here in the greater Houston area to not only have Catholic high schools, but we also have a number of programs that are Catholic, specifically aimed at helping students from all over. And to that end, we're talking about Catholic literary arts, and the table is set for what's called the dinner party. That's the fundraiser that supports Catholic literary arts. So I'm happy now to welcome into the studio Sarah Cortez. She's the president and founder of Catholic Literary Arts. And join us on the phone is Dr. Louis Markos. He is a professor at Houston Christian University. He's also the keynote speaker for the upcoming benefit dinner for Catholic Literary Arts. Sarah, I want to start with you. For people who are unaware of this organization, Catholic Literary Arts, tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. Thank you, Wyatt. We are a 501c3 Houston-based Catholic organization devoted to guiding, training, mentoring, and educating Catholic writers of all ages. Our keynote programs that sort of have made us a little bit famous, but that's just because we have great faculty and students, are mostly for youth here. So this annual fundraiser, this will be our second year, will serve to fund scholarships for deserving child scholars, and teen scholars to attend Fearless Catholic Writing Camp next June at the University of St. Thomas.
That's very exciting, and of course, you guys, are now doing this program in order to benefit all these students so that they can participate in a number of different, programs and things like that. Tell me, when did you create Catholic Literary Arts, and what was the impetus for this?
Sure. So the short version, Catholic Literary Arts was founded 5.5 years ago by myself. I have been a professional writer and editor for a lot of decades. And
you don't have to date yourself, Sarah. That's okay.
I'm not going to date myself, but I've worked for 5 different publishing houses, and through my journey, I started noticing, and this is old news now, but 10 to 12 years ago, that writers of faith appeared to be discriminated against. They were being pushed to the side. They were not being published. Agents wouldn't do anything. And just through a lot of wonderful conversations with mentors, gentlemen who eventually became mentors, who are prominent in the Catholic imagination literary world of our time, all my ideas coalesced into founding Catholic Literary Arts. And I want to be a very small part of changing the future. And so if you want to change a future, you don't only work in the present, you try to work with those who will be active Catholic writers, thinkers, publishers, whatever, in the future. So a lot of our programming has to do with youth, and we start in the 3rd grade.
Very, very young. Absolutely. It's so important to push those values at an early age. And so to that end, I do want to ask a question to Dr. Louis Markos. He, as I mentioned, he's a professor at Houston Christian University, and I know y'all are excited because he's going to be the keynote speaker on January 27th. Dr. Markos, welcome into the program. Tell me a little bit about, you've written so much in terms of apologetics, and you're an authority on C.S. Lewis. Tell me just how important Christian virtues are and promoting that in terms of literature and culture and the arts.
Thanks for having me on, Wyatt. I tell you, whether you go to a Catholic or a Protestant classical Christian school, there's 2 things you're going to hear all the time. There's going to be the 7 virtues, and there's going to be goodness, truth, and beauty. And the 7 virtues are the classical virtues of courage and wisdom and self-control and justice that even higher pagan writers like Plato, Aristotle, Cicero had a real inkling of. And then there are the 3 theological virtues of faith, hope, and love that we really needed to wait for Christ in the New Testament. But those are the 7 virtues. But there's also goodness, truth, and beauty, which I'm going to be speaking on the 27th, really about beauty. But what the virtues and beauty have in common, and this is why I love working with classical Christian schools, because they understand this, that the virtues and goodness, truth, and beauty are not so much about do's and don'ts. They're really about conforming ourselves to that which is good and true and beautiful, conforming ourselves to a higher standard of courage and justice and wisdom and faith and hope and love. It's about bringing ourselves into balance with these things. And what I'm going to focus on is how over the last 30 years, we seem to have created a cult of the ugly in our country. I grew up in the 70s, Wyatt. That may not have been the worst decade, but it was certainly the most pathetic decade to grow up in. I look back now at the way we dressed, and I am just appalled. But there's a big difference, Wyatt. We really thought we looked good. We thought we were Adonises in polyester, right? We were trying to look beautiful. What really disturbs me is when I see people who actually want to look ugly, the excessive piercing, the tattooing, the shaving of the head, the ugly colors, all of this sort of stuff. What's going on? And I'm going to try to talk about what is the genesis of this, what is causing this embrace of ugliness, and what can the church do about it? And I want to encourage the fearless Catholic writers to stand against the cult of the ugly with a deeper understanding of beauty in the things they write, in the movies they see, and in the way they speak to others, and the way they handle themselves. This, I think, is going to be one of the greatest legacies of classical Christian schools. And both my kids teach at classical schools, and I travel all over the country speaking to them because they are trying to bring back the 7 virtues and goodness, truth, and beauty.
We appreciate that, Dr. Markos, and really helping us to understand beauty on a little bit deeper level rather than just being skin deep. What does beauty mean? And obviously how it connects to the divine. Sarah, I'm talking here with Sarah Cortez here in the studio. Sarah, he had used the term fearless. When you think about that term fearless, was that kind of what you think of as sort of the goal for students when they sort of promote values that are like Christian values?
Well, I think fearless is a particularly rich term in our day and age because we keep getting told that we live in a post-Christian era, and that may be the case. Let's assume it is the case. We have probably ample evidence in the culture that it may be the case. However, let's not sit around and moan and groan about what's wrong, Wyatt. That's not going to get us anywhere. What's going to get us somewhere is connecting to God, prayer, adoration, trying to understand God's will for our life, and trying to do something positive. So for those, I mean, I have the most incredible board in the world. For the board members, our faculty, our staff, all of us who work so hard together, we're doing this for the glory of God, because the glory and grace from God is the only thing that will make us and our students fearless, and it's the only thing that's going to save the world. So fearless, fearless is very important to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that end, I'm thinking about some of these writers that have had an influence on students, young people. And one of those, of course, is C.S. Lewis. And Dr. Markos, you're an expert on C.S. Lewis. What is it about some of these writers, whether it's Lewis or Tolkien or some of these that appeals to people? Is it the underlying virtues? What is it that makes them stand out, do you think?
I really think it is, and I'll speak about both Lewis and Tolkien because they do offer a counter vision. They offer a kind of beauty that is strong and appealing. I was making fun of the young people with the cult of the ugly, but there's one good reason why they do that. They are rejecting the false views of beauty that's given to them by the media, by Madison Avenue and all that. And our job is to say, no, we agree with you that that's a false kind of beauty, the horrible people going down, the way they show models and stuff. We disagree with that as well. That's not real beauty. But let me show you what real beauty is. Let me take you to Narnia or take you to Middle Earth. And you know that both Narnia and Middle Earth are ultimately medieval places. They're places where people know who they are, where there's a closeness to nature. That's not a worship of nature, where there is a desire to grow in virtue and to grow in goodness, truth, and beauty, and it is appealing. And I'll talk a little bit about The Magician's Nephew, which tells us about the birth or creation of Narnia, and it's very similar to the Silmarillion, the creation of Middle Earth in Tolkien's world, where it is sung into being. And in The Magician's Nephew, the song that Aslan, the Christ figure, that he sings as he sings Narnia into Beautiful is the most beautiful thing that our heroes have ever heard. But the two villains, Uncle Andrew and Queen Jadis, the villains hate it. They don't want to listen. They close their ears. They would climb into a rat's hole to get away from it, because beauty exposes ugliness. And we want to, and this is really what they're doing at the Catholic Literary Arts, draw people out, give them the courage to embrace beauty. I wish I had more time. I'll just tell you quickly that one of the things that's killing the university is there's this idea that you're more wise when you become more cynical and skeptical.
Sure.
And what Sarah's doing in her group is standing against that. No, skepticism is not wisdom. Beauty, goodness, and truth, that's wisdom. That's real maturity.
I wish we did have more time, because I would want to unpack even more on that with you, Dr. Markos, but we really appreciate your being on the program. Sarah, really quickly, give me some of the information for people that need to know.
All righty. So, friends, the table is indeed set. Please go to the website catholicliteraryarts.org, catholicliteraryarts.org. Look under upcoming events. Buy your tickets, buy your tables. The table is set. It's going to be an elegant evening, an old-fashioned evening of beautiful food, excellent wine. Listen, we're going to enter into the world of ideas by reveling in the words of Dr. Markos, visiting with him at a book signing before dinner, and then we go home.
Sure.
And we have good dreams.
It is going to be a beautiful evening. Again, that's CatholicLiteraryArts.org. My thanks to Sarah Cortez and Dr. Louis Markos. You've been listening to the Catholic Lunch Break. This is Wyatt Goolsby. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay Catholic, Houston. We'll see you next time.